And now, direct from the Ducks Bar, out at Blue Collarville, broadcasting through Blue Collar Media on podcast and live stream. It's time for the Ducks Shed Podcast.
Get all the Australian boys need a shed.
G'day and welcome to my Shed Bar for the latest edition of the Duck Shed Podcasting, broadcasting through Blue Collar Media on podcast and live stream from my actual bar out here in Blue Collarville. As you know by now, I've turned my Friday night shed sessions with mates around the bar into a podcast and live stream show. Now, you too can be a part of it just by commenting on the video or simply just by sending me an email. Go to bluecollarmedia.com.au, click on contact to do that, and we certainly do enjoy all the feedback that we get here, and we do respond to all of those emails as well. Now, this week we have an absolute cracker show for you. Very shortly, I'll be joined by one of the biggest names in the Australian entertainment industry, Frankie Holden, and he's got a couple of mates with him as well. And look, he's not only a fantastic singer, but a very accomplished actor as well. He has starred in a stack of television shows and movies that you will know. A Place to Call Home, The Strip, Police Rescue. What about he was in the original Underbelly as well, and a whole lot more. These days, if you're not catching him on Home and Away, you'll see him down there at Tathra Beachside Caravan Park, a beautiful property down there on the Sapphire Coast, and we'll talk to him about that as well shortly. But I guess anyone who loves their Aussie bands will certainly remember this.
And
whoa, hit the right button.
Well, I've been waiting, and it's a Saturday night, and I call up the boys who will be cruising tonight. They got a party on, and they say it's gonna be alright. Well, we park the Custer on somebody's front lawn, and the boys and I, we sneak in the back door. We mingle in like we've done it a million times before. On the prowl, that's how we get our fun. On the prowl, don't you tell my mom. On the prowl, all the company I keep. On the prowl, you know it ain't so discreet. Prowling with the boys on a Saturday night.
We were singing oldies, but they were newies then. And today when I play my old 45s, I remember when we practiced in a subway, in a lobby or a hall, crowded in a doorway, singing doo-wops to the wall. And if we went to a party and they wouldn't let us sing, we'd lock ourselves in the bathroom and nobody could get in, 'cause we were looking for an echo.
Bip, 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 boom, 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 get a job. Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na, 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 bye, bip, 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 boom, 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 get a job. Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na. Well, every morning, this time my baby comes to me and says, get a job. Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na. As she pours my morning coffee every day, I know what she's gonna say. Get a job, sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na, get a job, sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na, get a job.
Well, who said you're not allowed to have a party on a Friday night? How good is that? And I can tell you that Frankie J. Holden and a couple of boys are sitting up down there ready. Frankie J., why don't you give us a live version straight off the bat, mate?
Sure thing, Duck. Go, yes.
Get into it, boys.
Nearly, and I called the boys. We'll be cruising tonight. I got a party on, and they say it's gonna be alright. Well, we parked the Custer on somebody's front lawn. What you up, what you up, and the boys and I, we think it'll come back. Oh, what you up, what you up, mingle in like we've done it a million times before. Sing it hard. On the prowl, that's how we get out fun. On the prowl, don't you tell my mom. On the prowl, all the company I keep. On the prowl, you know it is so discreet. prowling with the boys on a Saturday night. Well, all was quiet till they turned out the lights. And I heard some shout. Someone started a fight. And I struck a match. I'm gonna die to fight. You know what I saw? Good golly grief! I was looking at the police chief on the prowl. Now I've seen it all on the prowl. The policeman's gone. Whoa, they were everywhere on the prowl. So I ran for the stairs, prowling with the boys on a Saturday night. All right, yellow, let's go! The lights came on, but we were gone. I made it to the door and had the speed of light. Got to my car, I nearly died. There was a policeman sitting smiling inside on the prowl. I didn't know what to say on the prowl. Hey, you know crime does not pay on the prowl. I knew I was gone on the prowl, cause he was wearing a gun, prowling with the boys on a Saturday night. Alright, 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 on the prowl. Well, the boys had gone on the prowl. Left me all alone on the prowl. Whoa, turned away my car on the prowl. I should have stayed at home, prowling with the boys on a Saturday night. On the prowl. On the prowl. On the prowl. Thank you.
Oh, mate, they've gone off out here. Frankie, how are you, son? It's good to catch up with you again, mate.
Oh,
how
God,
good
I'm
was that?
exhausted, Duck.
You're exhausted?
I'm exhausted, mate. Well, we're all out of practice. Let me introduce you to my mates. This is Gary Carson Jones on the guitar, and Mick Potter up the back on the bass guitar.
Mick Potter didn't play footy, did you, Mick? You were an old footy player, were you, mate?
Different guy.
No, he looks like he played a lot of footy. He looks like he went 10 rounds with Muhammad Ali as well.
Oh, very, very good, mate. Very, very good. Mate, how you been, mate? I haven't spoken to you for a while, but, mate, how you going with all the self-isolation down there?
Well, we are. I mean, I'm sort of. I've actually sort of enjoyed it, Duck. We are isolating him in case there's anybody watching. Gaz and Mick and I are at least a metre and a half apart. And these two boys are the guys that I would normally work with on a Sunday night at Tathra Beachside, my caravan park, which you very so kindly mentioned just before. Down at Tathra, we have a regular Sunday night thing, and that's the thing. I'm really missing playing music. And the boys and I were talking just before we came on.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Definitely.
They've got sore fingers because they're not used to it, and my voice is already a bit scratchy. But that's the thing I miss the most. And to be honest, who knows when that will be rectified? Who knows when we'll be able to gather together and listen to some music? So that's how I'm feeling. I'm on the cusp. I'm sort of excited that maybe we can see some light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe we can get back to normal life sort of in the not too distant future. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, absolutely, mate, and that's what everyone's hoping for, and especially, like you say, you've got that caravan park, and we'll talk a little bit about that. In fact, we'll talk a fair bit about that, because we might even bring the radio show down there, Frankie, one day, and have a big weekend, make a big weekend of it. I reckon it could be real big. We'll do a Saturday and a Sunday night, mate, so that'll be the go. But, mate, you've had one hell of a career, haven't you? I mean, we played a couple of songs from old 55. Do you boys still get together and do a bit? I remember seeing you at a Big Red Bash in Birdsville a few years ago with Wilbur, and you did a few songs. Do you still get together and do a bit of the old 55 stuff?
I do work with Wilbur. Wilbur and I have stayed working together all these years. It's over 40 years now. But we have a band that comes out of Sydney or a band that comes out of Melbourne, and they all know our stuff. So it depends on where the gigs are as to which musos that we use. But I'll tell you who is in our band is Freddie Strauch from Skyhooks. He's our drummer, and Willie and I have been working with Freddie, well, maybe 30 years we've been working together. But in terms of Old 55, the last time the original lineup of Old 55 played was in 2000, a couple of years ago anyway. I can't remember what year it was, but it was the 40th anniversary of the release of Take It Greasy, which was the big album that we had that had On the Prowl on it and a number of other songs that you played before. So that would be, so I mean, that was probably about 2016 we probably did that. So that's how long since the lineup of Old 55 have played. But as I said, Willie and I, we do play around a fair bit. We do maybe 30 gigs a year sort of thing, mostly festivals or big community events. For example, one that got cancelled in May was we were going up to Trundle to play the ABBA Festival. And we, as I say, things like the Big Red Bash, we do that, or the Port Fairy Folk Festival. All those, they're the sort of gigs that we do. And I'm hopeful that the ABBA Festival in Trundle has been rescheduled, I think, for October the 18th, I think. So I'm hopeful that that might be able to go ahead and we can pick up where we left off.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope all those music events are coming back because it's been a hard time for the entertainment industry, mate. As you say, you like your little Sunday night gigs, but there's no shows anywhere. And
no, the artists have been forgotten, mate, which is really sad. It's not too late for them to rectify that and do something. But I'll tell you, Daryl Braithwaite, as soon as this coronavirus hit, he drove out of Melbourne and came up the far south coast to Tathra, where the park is, and wanted to get out of Melbourne for a couple of days. And I spoke with him. He stayed at the park. And he and I were saying that this could mean, if it goes on for too long, like if we can't do big gigs for 18 months or 2 years, that will probably mean the retirement of quite a few guys of my vintage or maybe even a little bit older. I'm talking, maybe Daryl, Joe Camilleri, Glenn Shorrock, Caddy, Russell Morris, those sorts of guys might just go, well, I can't wait for 2 years before I do a gig and I'll just pull up stumps now and call it quits, which would be sad in one way, but it'd be great for me, Duck. I'd have the market for myself then.
Yeah.
We'd kill it.
Yeah, you certainly would. Oh, mate, it can't go for 2 years, surely. But I feel
Well,
for
I don't know. When are we going to be able to have a grand final? Like when are 80,000
yeah, well,
people?
mate, yeah, unbelievable. And I mean, it's a real shame. I mean, obviously, I've got a connection with the Big Red Bash as well, and mates with Greg Donovan, and that event's basically been postponed for a year. But it's a lot of, for people like him who have put him on the line, like to put on an event like that, and all these other music festivals, and then the live entertainment in the pubs for the young artists, and man, it's a real shame. And hopefully we can get through this and get those blokes back out and earning a quid, because that's how they make their money. And it's not just the artists; it's the sound blokes and the people who cart the speakers in from the truck and all that.
That's right. That's right. And all the staff, the venue staff. Yeah. It's a huge circle. And then, of course, the people who go to these things, go to these big gigs, they've got to stay somewhere. They've got to eat somewhere. They've got to buy a coffee and buy some booze somewhere. So it's a huge rolling on effect on the economy. So the sooner they can get that sorted out. Look, I don't want to bag anyone. I think everybody's handled this pretty well myself, including the public. Generally, there's been a couple of little hiccups, but which was such a tremendously dangerous thing that confronted us all. And compared to the rest of the world, we've gone pretty well, I reckon.
Oh, absolutely. When you compare us to other countries, where, like, I'll tell you, the safest place on the planet at the moment, and the best place on the planet at the moment, is the Northern Territory. I mean, we should have been living up there, Frankie.
Well, I did live up there. I grew up in Darwin. I lived up there in Darwin till I was about 6. I wasn't born there, but I moved there when I was 2. And so that was a few years ago, Duck.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine what sort of a frontier town Darwin was, and the whole of the Northern Territory was back then. And I moved up there, obviously, with my mum and dad. I lived there till I was about 16. So I love the top end. I'm an epistle. Did I say that right? Or I'm an apostle? Or I'm a pissed apostle? For the top end. And I think everybody listening to this, now here's your chance, because I know, Duck, you've got a lot of very, very wealthy fans. I know that for a fact. You're big with the upper class people. I know that.
You're kidding, aren't you? We're blue collar out here, mate. We're the working class.
I can tell just by looking at you. You look like Malcolm Turnbull on a very, very bad day.
Oh, yeah, a shocker. No, don't compare me to him. Fair dinkum.
But here's the chance. So now overseas travel is going to be banned, for a couple of years. Cruise ships are going to be very, very dangerous places to go on. So here's a chance for all of your listeners and their friends, if they haven't done this, to get out and see Australia. And some people will say, well, I've seen a lot of it, but, there's so much of it. I've been travelling around it virtually all my life, and I still haven't seen all of it. But I would like everybody to go out and see the red dirt country. It doesn't have to be the top end. You could go to the Kimberley or the Pilbara or anywhere along that Western Australian coast, or you can go up to Cape York or into the centre. But if you go in there, you really do see and feel another essence of Australia. And I think it's really important in particular for kids to be taken out there. If I was Prime Minister, and I probably will be one day, not too far away.
You got my vote.
I'd make that a compulsory school excursion. Every school kid has to be taken out for an excursion, a good 2 or 3 week excursion into the red dirt country and pick up that red dirt so that they see that Australia is not just shopping malls and cafes and McDonald's, etc. So that's something I'd like to see happen.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. And as you know, we do that. That's what our radio show is all about, getting out there and travelling Australia. That's exactly what we're about. At the moment, we're all grounded, which is a bit of a shit. But anyway, we'll get there. But, mate, we've got a bit we want to talk to you about, but you reckon you just want to knock another song up for us while we're at it? We've got a few people tuned in, so the boys have got a few songs in, and why don't we do one now?
Sure, mate. Well, some people may be interested to know where that drum sound is. I'll stand up and I'll just show you. See that big red thing between my legs? Can you see that? No, not that. The other one. That's called a cajon. It's a South American percussion instrument, and you can get a little bass drum sound and a snare drum sound, and it's what I play up at the park. So anybody watching this now, they'll be able to say that they saw Frankie J. Holden live on the Duck Shed, and he's only got one cajon.
All right, well, we'll continue on having a chat, but I reckon in the meantime, get your cajon out and knock us up another couple of tunes, eh?
All right, mate. Well, this is an old 55 song that everybody knows and loves, and we'll do it for you now. So, everyone, this takes me back to the countdown days, and I want everyone at home now to lift your arms up in the air and wave them from side to side. Wave them from side to side. That's it. You look just like the crowd at countdown. Now, if there's any girls or ladies watching, I'd like you to do what the girls used to do in the crowd at countdown. Lift up your tops. Anyone? No, not you, Duck. Jesus. At Daydream Junior High School, we used to harmonize. Me and Frankie and Gary and Nick and some Italian guy. We were singing oldies, but they were newies then. And today when I play my old 45s, I remember when we practiced in a subway, in a lobby, or a hall, crowded in a doorway, singing doo-wops to the wall. And if we went to a party and they wouldn't let us in, lock ourselves in the bathroom and nobody could get in. We were looking for an echo, an answer to our sound, a place to be in harmony, a place we almost found. And the girls would gather around us and our heads would really swell. Sing songs by the moonbows, the Hawthorns and the Dells. And when we sang sincerely, we really sang it high. Even though it was falsetto, we almost reached the sky. We've sung a lot of changes since 1955, and a lot of bad arrangements we tried to harmonize. Now we've turned visually when we were doing things. And today when I play my old 45s, I remember when we were looking for an echo, an answer to our sound, a place to be in harmony, a place we almost found. We were looking for an echo, an answer to our sound, a place to be in harmony, a place we almost found. A place we almost
Mate, they're going off here in the shed, Frankie, I can tell you, mate. It's all happening.
Oh, well, sorry, you heard my voice crackle there. I did say we were out of practice.
Oh, no,
At the very end.
it's all very, very good, mate, and I hope you both got a couple more songs in you. Mate, so we know about the music career and everything, but you're an accomplished actor now. I mean, you've been in a lot of big programs, successful programs, and you and I have spoken about your role in Underbelly, where you unfortunately passed away in that show. But,
Yes.
mate, where did the acting come from, mate? How did you get into that?
Well, it all came from Old 55. So Old 55 got going in 1975 and 76, 77. They were sort of the peak years. And you remember that back then there were lots of television shows where bands or entertainers could get exposure on the telly. There was the Don Lane show. There was the Paul Hogan show. There was the Midday show with Ray Martin. And there was Flashes and Countdown, of course. And all of those shows were available to get exposure. And you'd go on them. We'd go on them as a band. And a couple of times as the lead singer, I got asked if I wanted to be involved in little sketches, little comedy sketches. And, of course, 23 years of age I wasn't afraid of anything. So I said, sure, absolutely. And then an agent, saw me doing some of those and rang me up or got in touch with me and said, do you remember that when people used to ring you up? They were the days. Anyway, she rang me up and said, would you like to be an actor? Would you like to be in movies? And, of course, I went, yes. So being open to, any opportunity that came my way. So that's sort of how it started. And the first movie I did was a thing called the F.J. Holden, which, in fact, I played Frankie J. Holden from Old 55, and then I just had a little walk on. And then I was in The Odd Angry Shot, which a lot of people would know, with Brian Brown and Graham Kennedy and John Hargraves.
Oh, mate, great movie. The Odd Angry Shot is a great movie. Actually, I watched it the other day. It's I think it's still on
still
Netflix.
Stands up.
Yeah, great
Still
movie.
stands up.
And Graham Kennedy, I mean, what was he like? I mean, he was, like everyone knows, he was a very funny bloke. He was way before his time, I reckon. But, mate, he wasn't a bad actor either, was he? He played a pretty good part in that movie.
He was a very good actor. But on that set, so I sort of met Graham a few times through the years, but that was the first time that I'd had the chance to spend any time with him, going away for 6 weeks. But he was very reclusive. He wasn't a big party guy or a funny ha-ha guy in private. He could switch it on, but he sort of kept to himself, and we didn't see him. You'd see him. There's a dog there, is there?
Yeah, that's security. That's Bluey, the security guard. Anyway, he works at night at security. He's HR manager here during the day. Yeah. So.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Yeah, so he does a great job. I don't know where he is, but someone's just going to take charge of him right now. But Bluey's in charge here, mate. And he's not a bad security guard either, Frankie, just quietly.
Well, my little pups just come in. Get off! Don't do that. I warned you about that. Get off me! Get off! Look at that mess. I'll never get that out. Never gonna get that out of the pants. Look at that. That's dreadful. Get away. Get out of it.
Yeah, well, Bluey used to do that, Caper. He's getting a bit old now, mate, so he's not into that. He doesn't do that anymore. But anyway, you walk along shaking him off your leg.
So Graham kept to himself, but I got to know Brian Brown and John Hargraves and John Jarrett and a few of the other guys who were in that. We had a wild old time, and it's been a great pleasure of mine, Duck, to look back at now. There's a fair body of work that I've done actually, because I've been at it for so long, and I really enjoy the acting, and of course I still enjoy the rock and roll as well. So it's all good. I'm hopeful. Again, that's another thing. As you mentioned earlier, that I've been doing some stuff on Home and Away just lately, and that's stopped. There was another thing that was supposed to happen towards the end of the year. I don't know whether that's going to happen. So who knows when I'll be able to get back and tread the boards. But I do enjoy it. It's another thing where it's a big team effort, and you're working with a bunch of people, just like being in a band or making a show like this. There's a team effort, and you're all working towards the one common goal. So it's very, very rewarding.
Yeah, you were in the original Underbelly, which we've spoken about on the radio before. That was just unbelievably successful because it was true and it was crime, and everybody had basically followed it in the news for years. And then you were in that, but unfortunately you didn't make the second one. What happened to you?
Well, my character, unfortunately, at the end of the first one, my character had a stroke and died, and so therefore that character wasn't carried forward into any of the other Underbellies. But Underbelly 1 was the best one, and is still the best one. Everybody says that.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree, mate. When you were, mate, sorry, mate.
I told you about camaraderie. Oh, sorry, I can't cut you there.
No, you're right. No, you're right. It's just the audio's a bit dodgy.
Camaraderie and fellowship that you have when you're making a TV show or a film like that. And I'll just give you an example of that. I was working with Roger Corser, who's also gone on from that and done a lot of work, and a very, very good actress called Carolyn Craig. They were the two other cops. Anyway, I had this stroke, which led to a heart attack, and I died, or I'm dying on the floor, and somebody, the director, which wasn't in the script, said, somebody better give him mouth to mouth. Well, Roger and Carolyn ran away. They ran away. Both of them.
Mate, when you were making Underbelly, did you realise how big that would be, how successful the television version of, the Melbourne Underworld Gangland Wars would be? Because it was huge.
We knew it was a good product. When you're making good product. But no, none of us didn't think. And we knew it was attracting attention because Mick Gatto turned up a couple of days just to see how we were getting along. And it was very nice of him to pop by, And, of course, that made us feel great to look over there and see Mick Gatto just watching us. But we had no idea of how it would capture the public's imagination. And, that true crime thing has now become huge in here and in America and everywhere, and in literature and books and podcasts. And people are just fascinated by the lives of those criminals, particularly if you can bring them, to life and show some humanity about them. So it was amazing. And, my character became famous because he baked his own, with the audience, because he used to bake his own shortbread, and he would offer it to criminals or to coppers, which everyone thought was a bit weird. But to this day, I will still get, 30-year-old blokes who were probably 15 or 16 at the time, and they'll see me on the street and they go, "You got any shortbread, Frankie? Hey, shortbread, Frankie."
You got a Scotch finger on you, Frankie? Oh, very, very good.
I love a Scotch finger to this day.
Yeah. Who doesn't? Mate, what about, you got another couple of tunes in you? You got another one in you? And we'll talk about the caravan park shortly and where you are living these days. We've got old mate on the bass in the background. You going there, Gaz?
The boys have just got to calm down a bit. But yeah, look, at Tathra Beachside, one thing we think we will be running as scheduled is the Rockabilly Festival, which we do every year. It runs from the 3rd of September to the 10th of September, and it's a week-long thing. And we get local acts. Wilbur Wild will be coming up, and the Sydney band that I mentioned earlier, they'll be coming down. So there'll be like a couple of old 55-style nights, and we get some really, really great local talent, and we might bring some other acts in as well. And if people are interested in rockabilly or rock and roll, it's pretty broad, the spectrum that we play. It's a great opportunity to come down to Tathra, get some free music, and support the town and the village, which of course will need supporting after all of this goes through. And the special offer, if people would like to make a booking, we don't know when all this is going to open up, but we're pretty confident in September we'll be okay. But if people want to make a booking at Tathra Beachside, they could just go to tathrabeachside.com.au or ring us up and we'll take your booking with no deposit. So just in case something goes wrong and we have to close the park or they stop travel or whatever it is, then you won't be losing any money and we'll just move your booking to wherever. So that's our special offer only for listeners of this podcast. Duck.
Oh, mate, we love it. We love an offer, mate. Now, look, we'll get into it, how you got into the caravan park. But in the meantime, I reckon people watching wouldn't mind another tune, mate. What do you got in you?
Well, we'll play one that Gaz has written, and this is about his wife. And I can tell you that me, Mick and Gaz are married to the three best-looking women in the Bega Valley.
Fair enough.
That's fair dinkum, isn't it, Mick?
Oh, bloody oath.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Are they watching, are they? What are they watching, are they?
I think so. Classic 65.
Of course they're watching. This is called Classic 65. Go.
Righto.
She's a hot rod classic 1965. Mustang Shell GT350 ride. She first sight keeps her wrong. Don't tell her head when the world goes on. She's a hot rod classic 1965. She got rosy red cheeks, colors like brown. She's really sweet, man. She knocked you out with a wink of an eye. Still turns head when she rolls by. The hot rod classic 1965. She's hot. Yeah. She raised my motor up.
I hope you're dancing at home. She's hot.
Back my motor up. She's here to stay. Time to be precise. With 300 horsepower, man, she's good to ride. Carry you out, moved up to see you. Shooting guns like a tiger. I mean, hot rod past 1965.
She's hot. She's hot. She's hot.
That's my motor up. 1965. She's a hot rod. 1965. She's a hot rod classic 1965.
Ah, very good, very good. Can you just go back to back?
What do you want another one?
Yeah, go on, give us another one, mate. It made people to chime in. I just had the missus behind the bar here having a bit of a dance as well, which was pretty good. Usually she comes behind the bar to get me a beer, which she didn't get me one then. But
Okay, we'll do Lonesome Me. This is a song I watched it. It reminded me of doing the Country Music Festival in October as
yeah,
well.
I could be down for that. What's the date of that? What's the date of that country music festival down there?
The Country Music Festival, I think, is October 22nd to 28th.
Mate, might have to come down for that one, I reckon.
Yeah, that'll be good. Well, music's a big part of my life, as you know, so it's a big part of the experience of the park. And here we'll do, this is what a lot of people have been thinking during the lockdown, Oh, Lonesome Me. Everybody's going out and having fun. I'm just a fool for staying a nun. I can't get over how she set me free. Oh, lonesome me. A bad mistake I'm making by just hanging around. I know that I should head on out and break the town. The lovesick fool is blind and just can't see. Oh, lonesome me. But I bet she's not like me. She is out on fancy free, flirting with the boys and all her charm. But I still love her so. And brother, don't you know, I'd welcome her right back here in my arms. Well, there must be some way I can lose these lonesome blues. Forget about the past and find somebody new. Can't get over how she set me free. Oh, lonesome me. Now listen to this boy play the guitar. Yeah! Well, I bet she's not like me. She's out and fancy free, flirting with the boys and all her charms. But I still love her so. And brother, don't you know, I'd welcome her right back here in my arms. Well, there must be some way I can lose these lonesome blues. Forget about the past and find somebody new. Can't get over how she set me free. Oh, lonesome me. Oh, lonesome me. Oh, lonesome me. Hey, they love us.
Oh, mate, how good is that? I've got to tell you, we're getting a lot of comments here from a lot of people. How good is this? More. We're copping plenty of comments. Best show ever. So, mate, we've had it. You, mate, I know, I've got to say, mate, cheers to you too, mate. How good is it? I've got to say to you, mate, we've had a few, as you know, Adam Harvey, which is how I met you, through Adam. We've had a few people on this Friday night thing, including Kevin Bloody Wilson. I've got to tell you, Frankie, I thought that was the last one ever.
Yeah, Kevin's an acquired taste, isn't he?
Oh, mate, I was under pressure that night, more pressure than my belt buckle at any time of the day, mate.
Well,
I've got to say to you,
how old is Kevin Bloody Wilson?
I've got no idea, but geez, he was very, very good. And I've got to say, he made a couple of political comments too, and he didn't miss anyone.
I bet he didn't.
But very, very good. And like a lot of people, doing some performances from home at the moment, and he's got these live streams and live shows. Mate, we only did this because usually on a Friday night there's a stack of mates, and there's a couple here tonight on the other side of the camera here. But, mate, normally there's a heap of us here having a few beers, and because of this lockdown thing, we thought, well, why not invite everyone here to the bar and get a few people on the phone, which is what we've done with you tonight and the boys. Mate,
it's great, and it may be that this is something good that may come out of this, that we do learn to keep in touch more with our friends and family, and with things like, FaceTime and Zoom, etc. It's very, very possible. My family, I've got 3 grown daughters who live in Melbourne, who are married with children and everything, and we played charades the other Saturday night on Zoom, and it was bloody hilarious, of course. And so maybe that may be something that comes out of this that's a positive thing.
Yeah, 100%. And you're dead right. And it's certainly different times that we're living in, mate. And the one thing, and what people should know, is that, mate, we basically called you through our computer here on FaceTime. So the audio at times is, better than, it's good, and then it's a bit dodgy, but it's the way it is. But it's still very, very good, and people can see that it's pretty fair.
I'm glad everybody's enjoying it.
Yeah, there's certainly plenty of people enjoying it. There's a lot of comments here, and a lot of people are enjoying it. Mate, we've spoken about the caravan park. How did you get into that, mate? Because, for a bloke who's an entertainer and an actor, mate, you find yourself owning a caravan park in a beautiful part of Australia as well.
Well, I've been living down here on the Sapphire Coast, they call it, which is that part of the coast that stretches, the south coast that stretches from Bermagui down to Eden. I've been living here for a few years, and we got involved, my wife Michelle and I, we hosted a show called What's Up Down Under, which is a caravan show. It started on Channel 9, then went to 7, then went to 10, but it's been going for quite a few years. We were involved in it for about 5 or 6 years. And we got to travel around Australia in caravans, visiting all the caravan parks. And that's what sort of opened up my eyes to the industry. I really enjoyed the people that I met in the industry. They were all sensible people and very, very bright. And, you know, you meet a guy who owns a caravan park, quite often they come out and they've got their shorts on and their work boots and maybe a T-shirt, and they're a bit hail fellow, well met. But then you get talking to them and you realise how bright they are, and how a lot of the times they've started a business from nothing, and now 15 or 20 years later it's employing 60 or 80 people, and they're giving holidays to people as well. And I thought, well, you know, that's a great thing. And we also, because we stayed in the caravan parks, and I could see what joy that sort of a holiday gives to a family. And again, I hate to keep harping back to this, but that's going to become even more important now as we go forward out of this current crisis, because when you go to a caravan park, or a holiday park, they should be more properly called, you don't sit on your tablet all day. You know, you get out and you're either enjoying the facilities in the holiday park. In my park, we've got a water park, we've got a jumping pillow, we've got a huge playground. You can ride your scooters around, you can go stand-up paddleboarding, surfing right there. You walk out of the caravan and you're on the beach. So there's lots to do in a physical sense. So the families are together. And our aim in the park is to make sure that your kids are knackered at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But that's going to become even more important. So I got a lot of enjoyment out of that. And then the opportunity came up to buy into a park at Tathra. It was just half an hour north of where we lived. It was an old council park, needed a bit of TLC, and had a great culture and history, but did need to be upgraded. So I got a couple of partners, and we've managed to put a lot of money into it and a lot of time into it and a lot of love. And it's now, well, it's one of the most awarded parks in Australia, and we're very, very proud of it. But I'm especially proud of the fact that people, families in particular, can come away and have a holiday, and to see kids and grown-ups going to a gig like this and all singing along, or we might run a trivia night, or we might run charades, anything like that, and to see all the families getting involved and doing stuff together. And that's stuff they're going to remember forever. And that's the stuff they'll talk about at Christmas, you know, when they're sitting around the dinner table in 20 years' time. Remember the night when Dad got up and sang with Frankie J, or who was it? Like, anyway, Dad got up and sang with the band, and so that's the sort of stuff they remember, and that's what I really get out of it. And it's a great outlet for me. As I say, I get to go and play with these boys or other musos and be involved with people having fun. So it's a blessing to me, really.
Oh, mate, and the good thing I like about them caravan parks, you know yourself, if you've got a big job and you basically, you know, it'll take you a while to switch off, but when you go to a place like your place, right, the minute you set up, you switch off straight away because there's someone lighting a barbecue, there's kids going past on a pushy, or someone's walking past drinking a stubby, and within a second you've met 3 or 4 people within 5 minutes, and you're on holiday straight away. That atmosphere just gets you. That if you go, you know, with some of these big holidays you'll go on, you'll still have the shits for you know, days, because it just takes ages to switch off. But when you go to a place like yours, you switch off instantly. It's just a great atmosphere in parks, and I can't wait to get down there and do yours. As you know, that's what our life is. Our life is all about travelling Australia, and we do the radio show and a couple of podcasts about that. And this Friday night thing's just a bit of a thing we're doing while we're at home. But at the end of the day, that's what we're about, and we try to encourage people to do that. And I think caravan parks today are different, aren't they, Frankie, than what they were years ago? You talked about you got the water theme park in there, and the pillow, and the live entertainment. It's really come a long way from, you know, pulling up in the combi, you know, getting out a couple of old banana chairs and cracking a bottle of DA. I mean, it's these days now, it's everyone's in it for the tourist, you know, business, and it's the caravan parks now are another level, aren't they?
Well, they certainly are. They're state of the art, and they're leading that 52%, I can tell you that 52% of all accommodation beds in New South Wales are in holiday parks. A lot of people wouldn't realise that. So they're very popular, and they're going to remain popular and probably become even more popular as we come on, and overseas travel's banned and everything. So I'll remind you of our offer at Tathra Beachside. If you want to ring up and book between now and Christmas, we won't take a deposit. We'll hold your booking just in case something horrible happens and we all end up back in lockdown again. And well, next time, if that happens and in 3 months you want me to come back and do another one of these, we might have learned some new songs, will we?
Yeah, mate, you had the bushfires down there too over summer, which devastated the caravan park industry on the whole New South Wales south coast. And I mean, then we actually took we did a quick trip to Ulladulla, and it was almost 200 people came down. Your mate and mine, Adam Harvey, came down, and we tried to do something. And we were very lucky because it was the last weekend before everything went into what we're calling lockdown, to try and support them. And mate, these parks were counting on a good Easter. Well, that just didn't happen.
Well, Tathra's had, they say these things come in threes, and Tathra's had the three. We had fires in Tathra in March 2018. Then we've had the fires in 2020, which didn't impact the coast, but they were certainly, and of course, we're all set to go home. So we lost that January trade, and not only us, of course, but all the surrounding towns and villages and businesses lost. And then we've been whacked with this COVID thing as well. So you're right, many towns and villages, all up and down the coast in particular, have really, really suffered. So we need people as soon as they can, as soon as the changes are made, people can travel. We do need them to come back and spend money in these little villages and support the locals, because of course all these businesses employ locals. So it's a real knock-on effect. But mate, as you travel around the country, regional people who live in regional areas, they are very, very tough, resilient, and good-humoured. Even when faced with bad news or terrible things happening, they still maintain their sense of humour. Like, Gaz, for example, he hasn't found out yet, but he's not getting paid for this gig. But he's still laughing.
You're not paying him in stubbies, are you? I mean, you should have been up this end, Gazza. I've got a fridge full of cans here, mate. Mate, you mentioned that. The regional people, mate, they're very hospitable. I mean, that is the thing. I mean, I know when you go to North Queensland, we've done some trips up there. You mentioned Cape York before, and mate, we had a mate with us who had a drama. You pull into some, a workshop or something. They'll drop what they're doing to help you, to get you going, and we call it North Queensland hospitality. But that hospitality is all over regional Australia, isn't it?
That's right. And that's something that people, as I said, people need to go out there and experience that. And because, you meet really different people, and you see a different Australia when you go travelling, as you and I have done. And that's what I'm encouraging everyone to do. If you're going on a cruise next year, how dare you? Or if you're going to Bali next year, how dare you? I'm cloning that young girl. Who was it? What's her name?
What was her name, that girl? What was it? How dare you?
There we go.
I've got to say one thing, though, Frankie, that at least the coronavirus has fixed up the climate change.
Well, that's right.
It's gone.
That's right. It's another thing that's been remarkable about the lack of industrial activities made an immediate impact on the climate. So that's good too. So maybe we should just all relax, Duck.
Well, I reckon what you boys should do is play another song. You're sitting there, you got a couple more in you, I reckon. The boys are, they're not being paid anyway, so they might as well just keep playing.
Well, we've got one that we've written especially to deal with this crisis, and as a special tribute to being on this program with you, Duck. And it's about how we'll get it. And I won't play I'm picking up the ukulele now.
Rightio. Here we go.
We only wrote this song this afternoon, so it could sound really shit out.
That's why I've had a few beers, mate. It'll sound good to me.
All right, it's called On the Other Side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there's times like this when the world world can be a hard and lonely place, and it can seem like we'll never turn the tide. But times will change, and then we'll see a smile back on your face, and before you know it, we'll be out the other side. Out the other side, I'll see you out the other side. Just remember, all bad things must pass. Out the other side, I'll see you out the other side. And we'll kick this COVID-19 in the ass. Well, it's not as if we haven't seen this type of thing before. Measles, smallpox, a whole lot more besides. We've had recessions, the Great Depression, we've even had world wars, but we always end up on the other side. On the other side, I'll see you on the other side. Just remember, all bad things must pass. On the other side, I'll see you on the other side. And we'll kick this COVID-19 in the ass. But then the search was on for someone strong, a special kind of man. And they settled on a man they call the duck. Quack, quack, quack. But the human race had egg on their face from Sydney to Wuhan. But the bloke called duck didn't give up. Damn. On the other side, I'll see you on the other side. Just remember, all bad things must pass. On the other side, I'll see you on the other side. And we'll kick this COVID-19 in the ass. And we'll kick this COVID-19 in the ass. And we'll kick this COVID-19 in the ass. Well done, boys.
Oh, put your microphone on. They're going off out here, mate.
I can hear them.
Oh, mate, unbelievable. Anyway, we're all social distancing.
Available on Spotify.
I've got them all stretched out across the property here. That's just the neighbours making that noise. Anyway, oh, very good. But, mate, no, I really appreciate you having a bit of a night at the bar here, mate, and you and the boys. It's been really good. Mate, look, the caravan park, which we've spoken a fair bit about, mate, you'll be looking forward to that opening again for business. And so you've got a few offers on. You mentioned the other music festival you've got there. So give us a bit of some more detail on that. So how can people book for that if they want to get in?
Just go to tarthrabeachside.com.au. There's a beautiful big website there. All the information's there, and you can book directly online, or you can ring up 64941302 and have a chat to Chloe or Carmen or Katrina or Raylene, one of the girls there, and they'll be happy to talk you through it and take your booking without a deposit, so that if something changes, we'll organise. We'll just organise it.
Yeah, no, well done. I've got to tell you, mate, we're getting some, mate, Dave Zammit, if you know him, mate, we've just put Tartha on our next van road trip. That's a good one. Some messages here. Julie, way to go, fellas. Good on you. Lynn Bolger, what a great song. On the other side, she loved it. Great song from a lot of feedback about the song. Henry Peters, Dougie wants a shout out. Sorry, Dougie, nothing for you tonight. And but mate, a lot of people. Glennis, I think it's Glenn Ellis here. Oh, Glennis Ellis, great song, mate. I reckon what you need to do is, mate, release that song. That's going to be a cracker. It was a good song.
We might have to do something. We might have to do something, and of course. You've seen Duck, and I explained that music's a large part of the fun we have at the park. So if any of your listeners or viewers are musicians. They don't have to be professional musicians. They can just be amateurs and like to mess around. They're more than happy to come along and get involved with us at the park because have you seen, look at the standard of these bozos I'm working with now, mate.
Mate, I wish I'd have known.
Improvement.
I would have produced a couple of harmonicas here tonight. I might bring them down with me.
That's all we need. That's all we need.
Anyway, well, mate, don't worry. The more beers I have, the better I sound. Mate, you got another song in you?
Well, we'll just go with the chorus of that, but I want to thank once again my good mates Gary Carson-Jones and Mick Potter, and I want to thank you, Duck, and all the people that are listening in or viewing in, and I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. And we'll give you this will be huge. This song. This is just going to go.
Oh, mate, it will be.
It'll go off. You ready? Here's the chorus.
Righto.
1, 2, 3, 4. On the other side, I'll see you on the other side. Just remember, all bad things must pass. On the other side, I'll see you on the other side. And we'll kick this COVID-19 in the ass. And we'll kick this COVID-19 in the ass. And we'll kick this COVID-19 in the ass.
Ah, there go the neighbours again. They're full on here, mate. Frankie J. Holden, thank you very, very much. Good to talk to you again, mate. I'll give you a call through the week because I reckon we want to get you on the radio and do something with that song as well. I reckon it's a cracker. Mate, and the Gazza, the boys there in the background, mate, great job tonight. And thanks for spending the night in my bar. And Frankie, mate, and all in the fair dinkum department, mate, we'll get down to Tarthra Beachside. I recommend everyone should do it because it's a great part of New South Wales. What do you call it? The Sapphire Coast. And it's called that for a pretty good reason, isn't it?
It's the colour of the water down there.
Yeah.
Down here, it's beautiful. Beautiful seafood, great oysters, prawns, fish, great fishing, great surfing. And unfortunately, sounds like there'll be some great harmonica playing as well.
Yeah. Don't worry, mate. I'll dust them off and bring them down, mate, and we'll see how we go. All right, Frankie, good to talk to you again, mate, and we'll see you soon, eh? Thanks very much again for being a part of it tonight, mate. Good on you, boys. And there he was, Frankie J. Holden. How good was he? And then the boys down there having a great time and just kicking back, playing guitars, and just like the rest of us, waiting for that time when we can get out and get away from these restrictions and do what we're doing. So certainly look forward to that. And I know we all are. We're all chomping at the bit to get out there and travel again. And for you people that follow us here and many people who follow us on Facebook and listen to our radio show, you're into your caravan and camping. And look, there's a caravan park right there, Tarthra Beachside, owned by one of the greats. Well, he's a major shareholder there, Frankie J. Holden. And he puts that live entertainment on every Sunday night, and he gets down there with a few mates and a couple of musos and put the live entertainment. I've seen some video of it. Looks pretty good. So if you're in that area or you want to travel, once we can get out, please get down to Tarthra Beachside because it's a beautiful part of the New South Wales South Coast. He calls it the Sapphire Coast and a great caravan park as well. You want to jump on there and Google that and have a look at the website as well.
Yeah, all Australian boys need a shed.
Well, that is this week's edition of the Duck Shed podcast. I thank everyone for tuning in and all the comments that we've been getting. Don't forget, you can email us as well. Through the week, just go to bluecollarmedia.com.au, click on contact there, send us an email. For all of you that have tuned in, thank you very much. Belinda, mate, you're on every week, love it. Ray up there at Brooklyn. Your mate Darren down in Melbourne, well done. But we'll be back to do it all again next week. Have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe. Cheers, see ya.